On the call to order our work session on recycle, I'll begin by extending an apology for Ms. Johnston. She's in another meeting here in the building someplace. She was hoping to be down here by now. Hopefully she'll join us sometime during this. And with that, we'll begin with the introduction, starting with Mr. Flynn.
Patrick Flynn, Assembly.
Dick Train, Assembly.
Ted Steele.
Paul Holman, Assembly East.
Bernie Hall. Introduce yourselves, please.
Andre Camara, the recycling coordinator for the Anchorage School District.
Nick Ballard, General Manager, Schnitzer, Alaska. Yeah.
Beth Nelson, I'm the metals buyer for Schnitzer, Alaska.
Very good. Andre, I'm going to let you lead off, and as soon as you wrap up, we'll move into the others.
Great. This was kind of perfect timing. I'm going to take this opportunity first to say thank you for the opportunity to talk about what the school district's been up to and how the financial assistance through the tipping fee through solid waste services has enabled the district to do what it's done up to this date. I was asked probably 2 weeks ago from a student who was doing a report on what the school district is doing to reduce waste and how does it benefit the community. So I thought this was a perfect opportunity to take this time to just highlight the talking points out of that response. As I mentioned, the financial support through the city's solid waste services through the recycling surcharge, the district was able to implement a district-wide mixed paper program. It was phased in the 08-09 school year, so not everybody was brought up to speed on it right away. That first year, our recycling tonnage was on the lower end, but that first full year of recycling, the district diverted over 364 tons of mixed paper, keeping that out of the landfill and reducing the volume of trash that the district produces. Every year since, that volume of mixed paper has increased. This past year, ASD diverted 489 tons of mixed paper. This continuous increase is due in large part, and you've heard it from the past presenters on recycling initiatives, education is the biggest component. They've said it over and over again. And our increase is due in part to the consistent outreach and education performed through my position. The Recycle It Right campaign teaches students and staff the do's and don'ts of recycling, which in turn helps the district keep its recycling and waste management at a minimum, keeping the recycling clean, keeping a lot of the vendors happy about the material that they get. These recycling habits, when taught at a young age, are likely to lead to a lifetime practice, thus increasing the recycling rate throughout the city as these students leave the school district and raise families here in the community. Along with the benefits that the community sees, ASD's recycling efforts, when managed efficiently, reduce the district's trash and associated costs. Our hauling fees, we brought in about $9,000 a month worth of recycling initiatives, and we've reduced our trash by over about $10,000 in waste hauling fees. So just to sum it up, district-wide recycling in all of and we've got our recycling program going in over 100 buildings. That is all of our support facilities and our schools, including all of our charter schools. They don't obviously produce enough material to warrant an on-site dumpster and whatnot, but we've been creative in utilizing students and staff's energy. Because as we implemented the mixed paper, they were filling up their cars and hauling it off. So channeling that energy to continue to offer services where it doesn't make financial sense to put a dumpster out there. So again, it reduces waste, saves valuable landfill space. When, again, managed efficiently, it reduces trash hauling and disposal fees, and one of the biggest components, it educates the recyclers of tomorrow. If the district was to lose the financial assistance through solid waste services, the district's recycling program will lose that all-important educational and outreach for students and staff. And this being the beginning of the year, this is when all the calls come in. You've got a lot of transitions that happen at the beginning of the year. Teachers move on, students graduate. I get calls from all principals going, oh, my recycling club graduated, you know, what do we do? If it didn't have this type of a position, a lot of these schools would just fall back to the recycling of the past. More of a feel-good program, and you don't really gain the benefits from it. So generally what I see is if we lose the financial assistance, and we've already taken a reduction through our meetings, we've seen the increase in savings where we've been able to reduce the amount of money that the requested through the tipping fee and solid waste services. Let's see, what I see hurting is that same level of participation, is that if there isn't that person for everybody to turn to, the efforts kind of fizzle out at the school. So that's where the financial assistant keeps me employed there, and it keeps the continuity from year to year for the recycling programs in each of the schools, because it works differently in each of the schools.
Mr. Harmon?
Two things. Number one, to be clear, the financial assistance from solid waste service for the recycling program helps fund a position, I'm assuming yours?
Yes.
Position?
We currently receive $47,000 a year.
Okay. And then secondly, is there, I guess, who's doing the QA/QC of making sure that it's only mixed paper and not like somebody has to spend a lot of time and energy trying to separate trash when it really shouldn't have been in there?
I am the district's dumpster guy. Generally, what I try to do is before recycling pickups happen, I'll visit the school, site visit, I'll crawl through their garbage dumpster, I'll crawl through their recycling dumpster, pull out the material that doesn't belong in either. I'll then find out who's responsible for recycling or the point person at that school. A lot of times it's a teacher in classroom, others it's the custodial staff. And I'll bring those in as examples and show them exactly, you know, what happens, and when we find dumpsters with an excessive amount of contamination, we then in turn have to call it in as trash. That then increases the costs of recycling. So it's bringing that to the folks that are actually doing the recycling and making sure they understand the impacts of, you know, taking that piece of paper and throwing it into our trash dumpster, or more importantly, the cardboard. Cardboard's a big issue because a lot of folks don't take the time to break it down. It just consumes a lot of space, either in our trash dumpster and or recycle. So a lot of education in getting them to recycle it right.
Mr. Steele?
Yeah, Andre, how much of your time is spent training? It seems to me, you know, you brought up the point, people move on and you have new groups at the school. I suspect the first part of the year, a lot of your time is spent in that capacity, but
Yeah.
how much of that?
I haven't really sat down and calculated it out. The position, since we've lost some of the funding, they've added additional duties. I'm now in charge of the energy conservation throughout the district. So energy efficiency and waste management now fall under my duties. So the beginning part of the year, right now I'm pumping information to the principals, rebuilding my point person list for each of the schools as it changes every year. There are only a handful of schools where it stays consistent, and those are the schools that I don't have to spend a lot of time on at the beginning of the year. So it's finding that person, getting them all the information that they need to be able to provide to their recyclers.
So that the teachers or the point person, whoever that is at the school, does the local recruiting and training in essence for their particular.
I look to them to educate the folks within their school, whether it's through a simple, you know, poster being put up in the hallways and classrooms, stickers on all of our bins saying what's mixed paper and what's not mixed paper.
Very good. No more questions? We'll move into your presentation.
Hand up again.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity as well. Schnitzer is located over off King Street in between Costco and Target there. It's a 17-acre facility. The facility's been into metal recycling for over 30 years in the Anchorage area. It was formerly owned by Newell Recycling and then AMR, Alaska Metal Recycling. Schnitzer took it over approximately 7 years ago. Schnitzer is roughly the third largest metal recycling company in the world. We have roughly, over 60 facilities all across the U.S., Canada, Puerto Rico. I can't, because we're publicly traded, I'm restricted on what kind of volumes we do. But I can tell you we are the primary metal recycler in the area. We're here to stay, and we, not only this location, but all of our locations are greatly involved in the local communities and committed to doing what we can as far as whether it's public awareness or anything of the sort. I said we have a 17-acre facility. We have rail access. So we're primarily shipping our ferrous material out via barge. We barge from April to October, approximately one a month, right down here at the port. We ship year round via rail and containers, and do some flat decks down at the port. Historically, we had a metal shredder on site that we decommissioned that back in February. So our business model is changing and constantly evolving, but we're primarily feeder yard, is what we call ourselves, and we're shipping a lot of our raw materials down to our Tacoma, Washington facility, before it's processed further, and then a lot of it's exported to Taiwan, Japan, China, and Indonesia primarily. One of the things that makes Schnitzer special, I guess you could say, on the West Coast, besides all of our deep water ports, is that we own a mill in McMinnville, Oregon, dedicated rolling mills. So we do have, on some level, a domestic, outlet for some of the material. And it's kind of it in a nutshell.
Mr. Honerman.
I was looking just briefly to the pamphlet and such, and I just was, it just begs the question, Alaska being such a large land mass that's not developed, is there, in the future, is there any plans to have, I'm kind of disheartened to hear that they're not wanting, they're decommissioning something rather than adding to, for both employment and opportunity to take some recycled material and perhaps use it locally as developing or building something, or manufacturing something here with recycled goods.
Right, we're constantly exploring routes to reach out farther and farther. Coming from, I'm not sure if I touched on the beginning, I've been with the company for 9 years, and I just moved up to Alaska at the beginning of April.
Well,
So my history up here is a little
What
greater.
part of town you live in?
Excuse me?
What part of town you live in?
South.
Class A
So-
short area.
Yeah.
Mr.
So,
Flynn?
so moving up here, there was a pretty steep learning curve in primarily logistics.
Yeah.
I got up here in April, there's a foot of snow. In May, there's another foot of snow, and then they're talking about road restrictions, and I'm looking at everybody, what are you talking about? So,
Well, the sunny weather we had in June and July, that's how it normally is.
yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
That's what I'm telling him, yeah.
Mr. Flynn?
Mr. Honeman, the product that we were producing out of the shredder was not able to be used locally anyway. It would have to be remelted anyway, and there's no facility for that kind of production here in the state. So it was still being sent either overseas or domestic. We do offer, particularly our non-ferrous materials, if there are local artists or local craftsmen that need scrap copper or aluminum or stainless for some reason, we are definitely open to resale within the community. We do a lot of that actually, particularly local artists that like to work in metal. We had a lot of people going and looking through our bins and finding, something that looks interesting, and it's repurposed as art, or it's repurposed as a fish smoker, or it's repurposed as all kinds of things, so.
Yeah, we also, I don't know if we donate the word, but we let the fire department borrow vehicles for training. They just borrowed 30. They had their statewide training, I guess, here coming up over the last few days.
Yeah.
We also do that with the military for, training with Jaws of Life and whatnot. And we try to get involved as much as possible, and, yeah.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Timbowski has joined us. Mr. Flynn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, what was the term you used to describe your yard now? Is it ferrous or something?
It's a feeder yard, which
Feeder
means
yard.
that we're not
You're not-
producing a finished product here. It's being sent to, in general, it's being sent to one of our other facilities to be processed
Right.
and sent as a finished product
Okay.
elsewhere.
Okay. And are you guys aggregating materials that are coming off the Yukon as well? The Yukon River drainage?
We're getting stuff from all over the place. In fact, we get stuff that's flown in on Everett's Air Cargo as a backhaul. I mean, we get stuff from Hooper Bay, we get stuff from Nome and Kotzebue. It's coming from all over.
Okay. And, are you guys still shipping to Nucor and Seattle Iron and Steel, or is that all going into Tacoma?
On some, depending on the market, we work within the market like everybody else.
Thanks. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Clerk's indicating to me she doesn't think we got your name.
Oh, Beth Munson, M-U-N-S-O-N. Thank you.
Any other question, Mr. Honeman?
Just, I guess more than a comment than a question, I was looking through most of your stuff, I'm not sure we could do much without a whole lot of it, but you're right about logistics. I keep thinking there's gotta be opportunity with, such vast available land that someone could look at developing some way of manufacturing and using, I mean, years
I
ago.
tried, Paul, I tried. It can't be done.
A significant roadblock to manufacturing is environmental controls, and you'll see that across the United States, that more and more mills are being shut down or being decommissioned because of environmental controls. Steel remelt and aluminum remelt, particularly lead remelt, those are all things that the EPA is, reasonably concerned with, and so that's why a lot of what we see is going out of the state or going overseas because of environmental controls.
The other issue, Paul, is there's not a market for the finished product here. The markets are elsewhere.
Right.
Yeah, and then also as well, a step up from recycling, you could say, is reusing. So that there are some products that we will sell back to the community, for certain needs, depending on liability. Definitely.
Well, and particularly the shredder residue that we've had up until this point, the foams and fabrics and plastics and things that come out of the other end of the shredder that are non-usable as metal recycling has been being taken to solid waste services and is used as land cover for the landfill. It's used because it stays warm. It actually helps the decomposition of the waste, and so it's unfortunately we don't have any more of it at this point because the shredder's been decommissioned. But that's one way that we were, even though it was technically waste, it was still being reused in some way and utilized by someone else.
Any other questions? If not, considering how we got a few minutes left here, this is a very special day, and I thought we'd give Amy a chance to give us her birth story. Actually, we really don't want that, we just want to wish you a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
With that, we're going to adjourn, we'll reconvene at 11:30 with our next work session. Thank you.